It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the four films of September 1st, 2006, Labor Day weekend. And this week we have an action black comedy, if you will, starring Jason Statham. A So Bad It's Good movie starring Nicolas Cage. We also have the latest dance movie, I'll just call it that, but it's centered around the world of sports with crossover. And a Mike Judge movie that was not given the proper marketing back in the day, but has found its audience over time and has sadly predicted the future more times than not. But we will get to those movies eventually. Let's talk about the biggest new release of the weekend that we have here, and that is Jason Statham starring in Crank. I mean, short, sweet, and straight to the point. That's exactly what the movie is about. Jason Statham plays Chev Chelios, an LA-based assassin who's poisoned with a synthetic drug and must keep his adrenaline flowing constantly to keep himself alive while tracking down the culprits responsible for poisoning him. And it leads to all kinds of crazy, chaotic shit. I mean, it's an action film, but it's also kind of a dark, black comedy at the same time because there's literally scenes where where Jason Statham literally has to bang his girlfriend Amy Smart in the middle of public, like to keep his adrenaline going. And like, it's that type of movie. It's a movie that knows exactly what it is, and by God, I love the hell out of this movie. I love how ridiculous it is. I love how stupid and over the top it is. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie, man. This is a really good, fun movie, directed by Mark Neverdine and Brian Taylor, who sadly have not really reached the high marks that this movie had done. I mean, they've done other movies similar to this, Crank High Voltage, of course, the sequel, and then there was Gamer, and then Jonah Hex, and then they did all these other movies that didn't quite live up to what this movie was able to accomplish, man. And it's a shame because this movie is absolutely brilliant. It's brilliant in its stupidity. It's brilliant in its ridiculousness. Its over-the-topness. The fact that it's a crazy action movie that just goes all over the place when it needs to. It's a great movie, man. I love the hell out of it. It's one of my favorite Jason Statham movies, and it's hard not to see why. It's a film that's so ridiculous, so over-the-top, and so goofy fun. Like, you can't help but have a good time with it, man. It's just a good time all the way through. I really love it. If you haven't seen it, and you love over-the-top action movies, you're going to love the hell out of this movie. No question about it. Crank, definitely a must-see. Speaking of must-sees, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, which is Nicolas Cage in a So Bad It's Good remake of The Wicker Man. Yeah, the people who made the original Wicker Man probably did not like how this one turned out, but this is a remake and a reimagining, if you will, of said movie, The Wicker Man, and it's a movie that follows Nicolas Cage, who's a police officer whose ex-fiancée informs him that her daughter was missing on this island and asks him to search for her, but when he arrives on this island where she was last seen, he suspects something sinister about the neo-pagans who live there. And chaos and hilarity ensues after that because, man, this movie takes the most insane possible turns you can possibly go with a film like this, with a performance by Nicolas Cage that is so bad and yet so good at the same time. From asking how did the doll get burned the way he does, to screaming about a certain animal, a certain insect that will sting you multiple times. I mean, what more can you say about this movie that hasn't already been said already? It's a bad movie, don't get me wrong, but it's the definition of a so bad it's good movie. You watch this movie to just see how much more insanity and craziness it can go. And this movie has that all over the place and then some. It's a movie that is so ridiculously stupid. It's ridiculous in so many ways. Like, kind of like with Crank overall. Only Crank knows what it's doing. This one, I really don't think they have any idea what the hell they're doing. But they're just having a good time with going along with the ride. And what more can I say about it, man? It's a movie that is so bad. Not the bees, not the bees. Oh, they're in my eyes. They're my eyes. Just to give you kind of an idea of the ridiculousness that this movie has to offer. Just such a good time all the way through. I love how bad this movie is. It's just such a fun mess all the way through. And I love every minute of it. The Wicker Man, complete masterpiece of terribleness, but I love every minute of it. What more can you say, man? The Wicker Man. So how about some crap now? Real crap, not the so bad it's good type of crap, but no, a straight up literal piece of shit crap movie, whatever you want to talk about it. Crossover. Yeah, this is a bad movie. A naturally talented basketball player, played by Anthony Mackie, is determined to become a doctor using his basketball scholarship to UCLA pre-med, rather than succumb to the lure of a former sports agent, played by Wayne Brady, and go for the NBA. His best friend, the buddy that took the fall for him and did the time for the assault charge, also an outstanding basketball player, has less lofty ambitions. He wants to get his GED and win an underground street ball game against his arrogant rival, Jules. Their lives change drastically when they both fall in love with two local girls and take a fateful trip out to LA together. And, yeah, this is a bad movie. This is a film that's trying to be your typical cliche-riddled sports picture, but at the same time, wants to be a movie that's made for the same audience that would go for something like You Got Served, and tries to add a little bit of a You Got Served flow to it, and it's just not there, man. And this is just a lazily put together movie that is not funny, not enjoyable by any means necessary. And we've seen Anthony Mackie and Wayne Brady and Lil JJ and Kristen Wilson in so many better movies than this. This director has made better movies than this. This is the same director that did This Christmas, which will come out the year later, and was a much better movie overall. But yeah, not much more to say about this one. This is a steaming pile of garbage that was quickly forgotten, and for good reasons. So let's go ahead and move on to our last movie, which is Mike Judge's Idiocracy. Now, this is usually the point where I would show a trailer or a commercial, but there is none. There's literally not a lot of marketing for this movie whatsoever. There's a poster that was supposed to be part of the theatrical release of the movie, but yeah. This film was a film that Fox completely buried for reasons that are still beyond me, even after all these years. So, from what I'm reading here, something about how, this was originally supposed to come out this weekend, and it was supposedly released in a specific number of theaters, not a lot of theaters, but the release was then put on hold. But then later was essentially released in only 7 theaters. So 7 cities, actually, where it was only released in 130 theaters, not the usual wide release. And Fox didn't bother promoting the movie. They had posters, but they had no trailers, no ads, only 2 images that went out, no press release went out. The film wasn't even shown to critics, and it led Fox to... Many didn't know what Fox was doing, and, the distributor may have actually tried to keep the film from having a large release while fulfilling a contractual obligation for a theatrical release ahead of a DVD release. That's according to someone from the Associated Press. And someone else also said the ads and trailers they did make tested atrociously, but still abandoning Idiocracy seemed particularly unjust, since Judge makes a lot of money for Fox. I mean, this is the guy that is behind King of the Hill, and Office Space was still one of the most profitable movies for the studio around that time. And it led to the point where, Mike Judge later on went to say that the film's lack of marketing wide release came from a lot of negative test screenings. He added that Fox decided not to give the film a strong marketing push because they thought the film would develop a cult following through word of mouth, recap its budget through home video sales like Office Space did, which kind of did, but at the same time, it's just like, none of this really makes a whole lot of sense why they wouldn't even release the movie from a director who is well known to many people. Mike Judge, of course, is the guy that did Beavis and Butthead, but also, like I said, he made King of the Hill, which was still very popular at the time. Office Space was still one of the most beloved movies of all time. Beavis and Butthead Do America was a profitable hit for Paramount. I mean, there were so many things about this movie that just... it makes no sense why they didn't bother to release it. This movie really has basically become a preview of what the world has essentially become. You have a story where you have Luke Wilson, who plays a librarian, and Maya Rudolph, starring as a prostitute, who undergo a government hibernation experiment, and they awaken 500 years into the future into a dystopian anti-intellectual society. And it serves as a social satire that touches on issues like anti-intellectualism, commercialism, consumerism, dysgenics, voluntary childlessness, and overpopulation. And, yeah, it's a really funny movie. A really good movie. Is it as good as Office Space? No, I wouldn't say it's that good. I mean, Office Space is a great movie on so many levels, but this is still a really damn good movie. And like I said, it's a precursor to what the world has essentially become 20 years later, honestly. I mean, the movie was pretty much predicting the future right before our eyes, kind of like how The Simpsons predict the future when you look at it. But yeah, there's no reason why this movie never got a big theatrical release. I mean, it's still baffling to me why this never got the proper release it deserved. But God, is it a funny movie, man? It's a really good, funny satirical comedy with Terry Crews as the President of the United States. You also have Dax Shepard in here, David Herman, Justin Long. Just a really solid cast, a really fun idea overall, a really great film that really sadly deserved a lot more of an attention when it came out. But I'm glad to see that over time it did eventually find its following. Maybe not to the levels that Office Space did, but I am glad to see that the movie did eventually find its audience, but at the same time, you can't help but wondering what the hell Fox was thinking without even trying to market this film to anybody or trying to see if it can make money. I'm pretty sure it would have made money on this particular weekend. It could have made a ton of money when it came out in theaters, especially considering the competition that it had out that weekend. This thing could have easily been a hit overall, but nope. Fox decided to just let it slip, and it quickly went away to hopefully make its money back through DVD, and it still baffles me to this day why this never got a proper release. It makes no sense whatsoever. But the movie is great. If you haven't seen it, you're doing yourself a huge disservice by not doing so. Especially now in times like this, be a good time to watch it again. Give it a good chance to watch it now, because you can see that they predicted the future pretty much. So, not much more to say about that one. That is Idiocracy for you. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and the next time we meet, we'll take a look at 4 more movies, including The Covenant. We also have the Ben Affleck star Hollywoodland, about the story of George Reeves, the man who played Superman who killed himself. Tony Jaa stars in The Protector, and Maggie Gyllenhaal stars in the drama Sherry Baby. So we'll take a look at those 4 movies. That'll be coming up on tomorrow's show. But until then, thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And also, don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, and notification button so you get updates on when new videos come out, because we post here every day. Now, with all that said, I am off. I will see you guys next time. And until then, as always, take care.